If you're looking for some neutral Christmas decor inspiration, then you won't want to miss this video. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Liz. If you are new, today we are going to do some neutral Christmas DIYs. If you're not into the dark greens and reds and all of those colors and you want something a little bit more toned down, then these DIYs are going to be perfect for you. We've got browns and whites and blacks with just a hint of greens in there, and I think that these turned out so adorable. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our first DIY. For this DIY, I picked up these two skeins of yarn from Hobby Lobby. They were a little bit on the pricier side. They were 30% off, so don't feel like you have to get these ones exactly. Any neutral yarn will do, but I loved the chunky knit look to it, so I picked these two up. And I also grabbed these two paper tree forms from Hobby Lobby as well. All of their Christmas stuff right now, at least at my store, was 60% off, which I thought was a really great deal. The taller tree was $12.99 and the smaller tree I believe was $7.99, and then both 60% off. And I decided that I wanted to do a bigger version of the little trees that I did in my Christmas tiered tray video. So if you haven't seen that video, I'll link it down below, but I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did with those trees. I'm just going to glue the yarn all the way around my tree forms. Now, what I will say you want to do is to start from the top and work your way down instead of working your way bottom to top. This is because the top looks a lot nicer when you start from the top versus starting from the bottom. So as you can see here, I'm wrapping my yarn around the top of the tree, but you get to that point, well, where are you going to glue the cut off pieces? Are they going to stick up? And you kind of have to deal with trying to glue everything down so it looks nice and neat. When you have this yarn, at least, the knitted pieces all start coming apart. So you kind of have to glue it together, and you glue it to the tip of the tree, and it just doesn't look as nice as it would have if you had started from the top. It still doesn't look bad by any means. I just think that it looks a lot cleaner when you start from the top. And I also wanted to show you how much yarn that this used. Not a ton at all. I'd say you still have about 3/4 of the yarn left when you're doing the smaller tree. Now for the bigger tree, I used the sage color, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to put some hot glue at the very tip of the tree, and I'll show you how I wrapped the yarn around it. So I'm just taking the end of the yarn and I hot glue it kind of facing down towards the bottom of the tree so I can wrap my yarn around the end of the yarn and cover up that end, and it just makes everything look a whole lot nicer and a whole lot cleaner than doing it the other way around. So all I'm going to do is continue this process all the way down, adding some hot glue, adding my yarn, adding my hot glue, and adding my yarn over and over and over until I get to the very end. Once I've reached the end, I'm going to add some hot glue to the very bottom of the tree on the underside, and I will attach my yarn right there, and that also hides the end of the yarn on the bottom. And that's all you have to do for this DIY. Super easy. You could add some little stars to the top if you wanted. I decided to keep mine plain, but I just think that these look so cute, especially with this yarn that I used. I just think it looks so adorable, and I can't wait to decorate my entryway table with these trees. For this DIY, I have a piece of scrap wood. It's 8.5 by 11.5 inches. I'm going to start by painting the entire thing with my Waverly chalk paint in white, and I just did one good coat. Next, I'm going to take my Waverly Antique Wax and a chip brush that actually comes from the Dollar Tree. I always get questions about what chip brushes that I use. I use the one from the Dollar Tree in the automotive section. I think they work really great. And I'm just going to do a dry brushing technique where I dab my brush into the wax and then dab the majority off, and then just brush very lightly along all of the edges, top and bottom. and all the sides, and then I very lightly go through the entire front of my sign. I also took some copper rub and buff that I also found from Hobby Lobby, and I took it on a little sponge, almost like a makeup applicator, and I'm going to buff this along all of the edges. I wanted this to look very worn. We're trying to make this look like old paper, so I did my best to make this look aged and worn out on all the corners. Next, we're going to wax our surface. This is the COUTURE surface wax. I always have links for this down in my description box. I get a lot of questions about the wax that I use, and I get it from COUTURE. So like I said, I always have a link down in my description box for that. And I do this to help prevent bleeding when I use my COUTURE transfers. So I grabbed this transfer. It's the Oh Holy Night transfer, and it has the music sheet on one side. That is the side I'm going to be using. I'm going to put it on my sign and try to center it as best as I can. And then I'm going to take my chalk paint in Velvet, and I'm going to run this along the entire thing. Now, I am not the fastest chalker in the world, so what I like to do when I'm chalking bigger transfers like this is pull up the transfer as I'm chalking. So once I have a little bit done on one side, I'll start slowly peeling up the other side so that the chalk paste isn't drying to the transfer as I'm trying to get my project done. And I just do that process while I chalk the entire thing. And that is all we're going to do for this DIY. This is super, super easy and simple, and I think this turned out so fun. I love it sitting on a shelf with all my other Christmas decor. It's very neutral, very farmhouse, and I just love the look of it combined with all of my other Christmas decor. For this DIY, again, so easy and so simple. All we're going to do is take a star cutout from the Dollar Tree, and we are going to use our Waverly Wax in Antique on it. I'm going to do this on the front and the back so that when we add our twine, you won't be able to see the light wood underneath. It's going to match that twine a whole lot better. After the wax is dried, front and back, I'm going to take some twine and I'm going to stick it through the hole on the star, tie a knot, add some glue, and then I'm going to begin the process of wrapping this entire star with some twine. So there really is no rhyme or reason or skill to do this DIY. You're just going to wrap that twine around your star, and you want the entire star to be completely covered. One thing that I would suggest as you're wrapping around the points of the star is adding some glue to the sides so that the twine isn't slipping down to the very point of the star. It will hold it in place a whole lot better, and it will allow you to cover each tip of the star. But I'm just going to repeat this process, wrapping the twine around, adding a little bit of glue here and there, wrapping and wrapping and wrapping until it is all the way done. Once I've got the entire thing covered, I'm just going to tie the loose piece of twine to the back, and that is it for this DIY. For this DIY, I grabbed this little sled from Walmart. It was $5 and it was located in their little section towards the front, almost like the Bullseye's Playground of Target, but Walmart's version, that's where it was at. And I'm going to make this very simple. I just wanted to redo it. I know it's already a neutral color and you could leave it like that, but I wanted it this green color. This is Waverly's Chalk Paint and Moss, and I gave the entire thing 2 good coats of that paint. I wanted to make sure the black was covered up as well as the star on the front. Once the green paint is completely dry, I'm going to take my Waverly Wax and Antique on a chip brush. I'm going to heavily distress the bottom portion of the sled. And for the other parts of the sled, I'm going to go a little bit more light-handed, but I wanted this sled to look worn. I wanted it to look like it was wood and it'd been painted green, and then some of the green paint was chipping off. So I just was going for that very farmhouse rustic look to it. I dabbed my brush along the front in several different places just to try to make it look really worn. And then I had some of this rope-like ribbon that came from Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to string that through the holes in the sled. I tied 2 double knots to each end, and with the rope pulled down to the front, I also tied that in a knot. I debated adding some wooden snowflakes to it, but I ended up just leaving it as is because I think it looks like a really fun piece paired with all of the other Christmas decor that I made. For this DIY, I grabbed these wooden skates that you can get as a pair from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to start by painting the entire thing black, minus the skates at the bottom, the star, and the little cuff of the boot at the top. Everything else is going to be painted black, and I just did one good coat on both of the boots. Once that's dry, I'm going to take a paintbrush and dab the back in some white Waverly chalk paint, and I'm just going to go over those engraved circles on the front where the laces would go, just to make those pop out more. And then I'm also going to paint the snowflake and the top of the boot in white as well. For the skate portion of them, I'm going to use my Waverly chalk paint in Silver Lining, and I just gave it one good coat. Next, I'm going to add some beads to some twine. I get my beads off of Amazon, which is linked in my Amazon store. And I'm going to string on about 7 of these. I'm going to add my twine through each of my skates. I also added a little bit of details to my skates. Of course, my camera was not filming when I did that, but I just added a little stitching around the cuffs of the skates at the top. But that's all you're going to do. Just add your skates to your twine and beads, and then you could hang this over a sign, have it lay out on a table. I think these are adorable. And that is it for today's DIYs. I hope that you guys enjoyed them. Let me know which project was your favorite in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe before you guys leave. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!